Ladies and gentlemen, you have Omi's production studio, and this is a special Black History speech, which couldn't be combined with the Black Law speech. But I asked the question: should Black History Month be boycotted by Blacks? And I'm going to add, just because. Should Black History Month be boycotted by the Blacks because we did not go out and obtain it for ourselves and someone just gave it to us? Well, I don't think someone just gave it to us. If you really knew the history of Carter G. Woodson and what his attempt was, he had attempted to get Black History Month for the whole year. And I understand that there was some controversy over the length of time that was going to be allowed for us to celebrate our heritage. Now, let me stop here for a minute and take you back. What does it mean to celebrate your heritage? What does it mean to celebrate your history? Well, we not only have a heritage, we have a traditional world history. And what it would mean to give us a chance to talk about ourselves was to include ourselves in world history. And that's something that has not been talked about. When we look at world history, how does the Blacks fit into world history? And did we create world history? Excuse me. Did we create world history? And could history have been founded or developed without the contribution of African Americans? Here's what I do take offense to. I take offense to every year teachers in the classroom are putting up the same inventors. They're putting up the same people who discovered the traffic light, the same people who created, who went to space, the same people who were involved in things that are insignificant now. We must bring Black history up to today's time. We must talk about new, brand new heroes and sheroes, and we must not boilerplate and create those heroes and sheroes for our young people today. They must create their own, but we must guide them. Because remember now, we've been given a set of heroes that are not ours. If you look at society today, Beyonce and Jay-Z have been given to the younger people, just given them as one of their idols. We're not idol worshipers, but we do want to choose our own heroes and sheroes. We want to practice Kuja Chajalia, the ability to name for ourselves, to define for ourselves, and to create our own heroes and know who our enemies are. We don't want anybody manufacturing enemies for us. But here's a real question. Blacks are asking themselves, should we be celebrating Black History Month when we didn't go out and get it for ourselves and someone just gave it to us? I think that you're in error to believe that someone just gave it to you. That Black History Month came with the fight by Carter G. Woodson. He did not lay down easy. There was a discrepancy over the length of time, but no one just gave us Black history. We had to fight for that. And we're going to have to fight to keep it in place, but we're going to have to be actively participating in the development of our Black history. What are some of the things that we should put on our itinerary? Number one, let's go back over history and see, since we want to bring up slavery so much, and we know that some of the slave masters still have a descendant line here on this earth that's alive and well. Let's talk about who those organizations were who actually benefited from our condition and our slavery. Let's talk about those major corporations who are still reaping the financial benefits off of our plowing and our grunting and moanings and all of our struggle to go through Jim Crow. Let's talk about it, because maybe, just maybe, we can benefit from having this Black history. We can go back to chattel slavery and look at who were the recipients, and were their mothers and fathers paid, and were their mothers and fathers given any money. Let me put my ears on to make sure. Since we only have so many days in this month, I don't want to miss any of them if I can help it, and trying to bring some truth to power so that we can get out of the mess that we're in. And hopefully every month or every year that we have our Black History Month, we can do more than just talk about it. We can use some strategies and do some strategic planning so that we will know from the next year to the next what we are going to overcome. You see, Martin was an overcomer, but nobody talked about when Martin said, let's overcome our financial discrepancy and let's go downtown and get our check. See, he got killed behind saying those words. And yet we still use him as a leader, but we don't want to talk about the real speeches that he had to deliver us. Are we trying to get delivered through our Black History celebrations, or what? Are we just trying to pat each other on the back and talk about look how far we've come? Because we haven't come that far. If you look at the society, we're still struggling and we're still in the mess, and we can't boycott anything. We don't have buses to boycott. Now, let me back up. Maybe we should look at those corporations and say, hey, these were the corporations that were involved in the slave trade. Maybe we should approach them and have a platform. That's real history. And let's go back in the history and get those people, and let's put them on the platform so that we can hear what they have to say. Maybe it would soothe some of us recipients to know that they're still yet apologetic about what their ancestors done, and they still want to offer us some assistance. Because see, when you break treaties, the Native Americans went back and they rehashed those treaties, and the treaties were then given to them. We want to look at some of the treaties that were broken with the Africans when you brought the Irish over and the Dutch over to take over the land and impede upon those African slaves to train those Dutch people to crop that land, and you gave them, the African Americans, reparation. Then we need to look at putting that treaty back into place. See, we have an error about what it is we discuss on Black History Month. No more will we be bringing up Dr. Martin Luther King and the man who discovered the traffic light and the doctor who discovered open heart surgery. No longer will we be talking about those things. That's history in fact, but it has no relevance to what's going on today. We need to talk about relevant things, not irrelevant founders and heroes and sheroes, but the ones that can do us some good now, because we are working on a situation to correct history, to go in and ratify those constitutional rights and those 15th Amendments that weren't really addressed to us. So, should Black people be boycotting their own Black history? No. We've got to use that time so that we can address the issues that still plague us today. Don't ever walk out on your Black history because somebody is approaching you in black faces. We know that's not who we are. We know they want to make a mockery of our history, but they can't, because they came from us. We produced them. And reality, we're talking about world history for us and not just exclusive individual areas of Blacks' history. We have made world history around the globe. Everywhere in the geographical area that you go, you have found our ancestors there, meaning that we were there too. So we're talking about world history here. Now, after we do the platform, there must be an agenda, bullet points of things we're going to do on the checklist for that company, and there must be an outcome, sometime an outcome that will actually pay monetary gains. We must know that this 28 days is going to be worth it. Right now, we're wasting time with it. We're just repetitiously repeating things from year to year that we said the previous year. But how can that benefit us as a group of African American people who are still deprived and still in the lower socioeconomic areas and still who are making half the amount of money that other white households are making? Let's address the financial income of what is earned by a Black family and comparisons to a white family. Let's look at those figures and then go down the line for a single Black mother compared to a single white mother. Let's even the score, because they tell us Blacks, if you go to college, then you have a chance of earning substantially more than you would if you didn't go to college. And a lot of our college recipients are finding that they're earning less in the professions that they're going in. They're getting steered to the professions of the lower end of the income. And they're getting these degrees and they're spending good money for them, the same amount that they would spend for any high-tech area such as IT, engineering, STEMs program, but yet they're going into these basket weaving classes and coming out where there's no market for their skill. We could do something about that during Black History Month. We could go to these colleges and say, no more. And Blacks must be guided and have someone there to guide them. Unfortunately, when you go to these junior colleges, you don't have a counselor, a guiding counselor. You're on your own with these bingo sheets. And when you take these bingo sheets out, you haven't a clue which course is going to be open per semester, but your advisor does. And then you can't get in those classes. Now you have to deviate from your IT degree to some basket weaving class in liberal arts, which you know you'll never get a job in. But yet, nevertheless, you want to get out of school on time. So you take a detour and you take up these liberal arts degrees, which cannot fan you out the income that you need. It isn't even enough to pay for the loan that you've taken out. That's a disservice to us for Black History Month. We can do something about that. We can change that in all of the junior colleges. Take a group of concerned parents to go to the schools to represent the mothers, to help the mothers be trained on how to go into the dean's office or the guidance counseling when the student gets ready to make out his schedule and schedule his bingo sheet for what courses he's going to take during the semester on a quarterly basis or on a 16-week basis. That way we at least know you're going to get your money's worth for these loans that you take out for these degrees, and you are going to be tested to see if you have the aptitude for these particular credentials. Sometimes you don't have the aptitude, and you find that you must drop out after you ran up a bill of a loan. You don't want to do that. You want to be tested up front. And if you don't have the aptitude, then go to a junior college and get a technical degree, something that's going to land you a job immediately upon graduating. This is what we need to be doing with our time during Black History Month, not reciting Harriet Tubman's speeches over and over again, and not giving us the Dr. Martin Luther King ritual every other day. We can only learn so much about these heroes and sheroes, which I think we've learned plenty enough. Now it's time to move on to some effective strategizing during the month of Black History Month. And as you know, I am one who loves Black History Month. I could not think of eliminating it nor boycotting it, because you don't give things back that you worked and slaved for. And Carter G. Woodson slaved for Black History Month. He didn't just take what they gave him laying down. That man was whole strategic strategizing and working with them just so he could walk away with these 28 days. Now we're going to do something about it. This is what the message should be about out there in television and radio land. What are we going to do constructively with our 28 days? Not giving it back. You don't give anything back to Mr. Enforcer. If anything, you get his dreams too, because they've stolen the dreams away from the African-American slave drivers. They've stolen their dreams away from their children, because they can't even perfect. Even after they get out of these institutions, they still can't work in their profession, and they still can't find a job. And heaven forbid if they can still get a cab. Now, I want to say something. Sometimes we preach about the wrong thing. Yes, we get angry at Mr. Enforcer and his group, and we don't want to laugh at their jokes when they're doing the black faces. We don't want to support them in that. The way you disgrace them is you show them that we're strategizers and that we have enough sense to get the benefit of these 28 days without arguing with them or without fighting with them about who is our hero and who is our shero and who is putting on black faces. Now, we have a checklist, right? We're going through our checklist. We know we're going to address the issue about our black children taking out these large sums of loans, going into the liberal arts profession, not being able to earn any money. Our bottom line is that we must increase our financial status. We must look at how we can not only bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan, but have a stock earning that we can put money away so that every dime we make is not being spent. Now, I'm serious. Black folks are spending a lot of money, but nobody's showing them the route to their financial excellence and the way that they can become bona fide in nature. A lot of blacks are not even trained about the silver and the gold that we could be buying with this excess money, and how we can put up the money for the silver and gold and hold on to these coins that can become very valuable. That's a step in the right direction, to buy as much silver and gold as you can and stop buying these trinkets like this fake plated gold. It has to be gold or nothing else. If you're in the gold mining business, great. Don't buy no plated gold. Go and buy the bullions and the silver dollars so you have dollar bills, y'all. Cash coins to back those dollar bills, which will soon be worth nothing. You have to teach our people that the cash dollars will be worth nothing pretty soon, because there won't be any gold or silver to back it up. Now, most black people go out and buy a policy. They buy a whole life policy, thinking that it will mature over time, then I can use it as a savings and I can pull out the equity in it and benefit and give it to my grandchild to go off to college. That's a good idea, but whole lives can be used in a much better way than that. The whole life where you create your own bank and you begin to borrow from yourself at a lower interest rate. But first of all, you must understand that you're partnering with that particular bank, so that now you are vested in that bank, and that bank and you are partners. And at the end of the year, you're given dividends plus the money that you put in there that will come back. Now you're $3,000 richer than you were before. We got to get something out of this Black History Month. We can't just go on being poor. They're telling you, well, we're going to let you know all the things that your Black people did. But what good does that do when we're not advancing ourselves and getting ahead financially? We must use that time to force them to strategize with us in these banks. At that time of the month, we must commission ourselves to go into all these banks to talk about their programs and what they have. What is their housing and lending practices? How can we borrow money to buy a second home? How can we come in to get a refinancing loan? We must learn about the banks and how they operate and what programs they have out there that we don't know about, like these home equity loans. This is 28 days. You don't have very much time. So you got to band together and go in as groups to gather this information. And churches are not doing us no good. Make them demand that they be a part of this so they will actually use their facility to house these meetings. We must get some riches. We must get some riches during this time. We're already upon the 400 years. So we now need to get some riches and stow them away. A lot of people are working 2 and 3 jobs. We must talk to them about the inadequacy of working 2 and 3 jobs and how it plagues upon the family and brings stress upon the family. We must take off as much stress as we can during the month of Black History Month and show those mothers that they can work 1 job, and show those fathers that they don't have to be on the 2nd shift and the 1st shift in order to bring home money to finance their family. We must show them. We must even create the cottage home business during this time, those jobs that can be worked remotely. We must take our skills, those of us who have, we endow them with. We must take our knowledge and train teachers how to be teachers. At one time when there was no university, teachers trained other teachers. I'm taking my skill now and helping anyone that's in the public school who has a connection in the child development area. I'm showing them how they can walk away from high school with a diploma equivalent to a 2-year associate degree where they can start work immediately upon transitioning from high school. We get these degrees and we don't think we're obligated to go back to our community and to offer training. But this is what the Black engineers did. This is what the Black social workers did. This is what our PhD candidates did. They got credentials and they got funding to help other students who were attempting to get their credential, and you enlighten them and you put them to work. Who's going to take something away from you if you are aspiring to be a coder? There's many ways you can learn to code in the classroom, and you can learn on the job. Those of you who are coders, bring your skills together and show other Black coders how to code in the engineering department and in the medical records department. Show them how to code. I don't care about which way they gain this knowledge. It doesn't matter. The outcome is they can code. They don't have to be credentialed in this coding, but you being credentialed can get the contracts, and then you can subcontract to those who don't actually have the credentials but know how to do the work. We got to start getting smarter. We can't just keep getting a holiday and doing nothing with it, but talking about all these stalemate heroes and sheroes who have died and left us and have done nothing for our society. We've got to retire those elderlies who we put on our bulletin board every year, and we've got to gain some momentum by starting a collaborative group of seekers who are seeking to do better and to increase the bottom line, our income. That's the bottom line. Is our income increasing? Are we steady going down the drain to a lower socioeconomic basement life where you can't afford to even pay attention and you can only buy those things you need and there's no excess money left over at the end of the month for you to even take in a movie? We're talking about a quality of life here. What we're supposed to be accomplishing during Black History Month is a better quality of life. And none of us are doing any better. Even those middle classes, they are the ones that are struggling because every dime they got, they're putting it into living a quality of life. But nevertheless, you got seniors that are on fixed income who cannot spend above their means. But yet at the same time, we have arrogant accountants who have skills, they know about investment, but yet they are not taking their skills one day a month and offering those skills to the church. So the church needs to be replaced. Replace the church with training centers. Replace the church with training center. Now the churches will contract people like me to come in and set up training programs. Forget about Peter, Paul, and John. Paul I know, Peter I know, but who the hell is this system teaching us about being poor? It was never in our spirit to be poor. We were always genteel people, and we came up the rough side, but we knew about equality. And now we are suffering from living a basement life because there's no equality there. Now we're still working on the month of February. Yes, I know we take a little time out for that Black love, but once you've done that kissing and hugging and you bought those flowers and chocolate, let's move on up the road. Move on up the road a piece. So now we can look at what other finances should we be addressing during the month of February. No, we're not crazy. And for those Mr. Enforcers who are going to view this tape, we know about finance. And we know about how to get riches. You've just ripped us off and taken so much from us that you feel like we're going to stay down. Not this one. I'm going to find my way up. See, they put you on Social Security to get you strapped so that you feel you can't earn a dime over Social Security. But eventually everyone turns 66 who lives long enough. And then at that point, you can make the maximum amount that you want to make. You're no longer disabled. You go the full retirement age of 66. There's a whole lesson that needs to be taught on that because most people don't have it right. They don't understand how it works. How is it that you can come off of disability and now you are full retirement age? They don't understand how they take you out of one pot and put you in another, and now you can make the maximum amount of money without penalty and without being desecrated. But we have to understand we cannot give our Black History Month. That's the month when we can go and study ourselves. That's the month we can go off to ourselves and make plans. That's the month when they don't mind you cycling yourself together and squatting together. They know you're talking about your Black self. That's the month that you have privacy. So you certainly don't want to give back Black History Month. Do I make myself plain to some people who are saying, well, why do we even worship it? And why do we even wait for it? No, it's something like voting that we worked hard to get, even though we know that voting is not going to make a difference. We want it because we earned it. We've earned Black History Month, but we're going to decide to do something with it rather than rub our shoulders together and talk about how great thou art and how great thou was, and talk about where we're going and where we're headed in the future. And we're going to talk about finances and bank accounts, and we're going to talk about investments, and we're going to talk about partnershiping, and we're going to talk about how do we get over the grain house and make more money than ever before. Oh yes, the topic has to be about money because this is the history of things. How do you get over the grain house? And you cannot do that by being poor. It's very vital that we should understand that they didn't give us Black History Month. We took it by force. And whatever we get, we're going to have to take it by force. We have got to get our history corrected. Carter G. Woodson fought on many a fights to get just this 1 month. He did want more than just this month, but it was too much of a fight. And rather than put up a fight to continue, he wanted to get on with celebrating of our accomplishments. And there are many. We know about our accomplishments. We know we're one of the greatest world founders in this world. We know that the only thing that we never did was put trademarks and patents on our work before they stole it from us. We know that a lot of those things that they took from us belongs to a black man. Now that's something we could talk about. Who took the patents, who paid for the patents and stole them from the black man? And who is getting the credit for it? And is the black man's offspring getting the benefit of those particular discoveries? And could he go back and issue the money for the patent and get the patent in his name? We really got to get on the ball and realizing that Black History Month is not just to chew the fat about ourselves and to pat ourselves on the shoulder and say, look at how good we did. No, because it's still holding you back and you're still not going anywhere, nowhere fast. So we don't want to rally about all our great accomplishments. I guess they know them by now that they've seen enough of our displays of who has accomplished what. It's time to get smart and wise and look at how we can hold meetings at the building so that we could talk about our next move for strategizing to create new heroes and sheroes in our own community that we know and love, not someone we never met or knew about that happened back in 1800s. We want to come away from all of those heroes and sheroes in 1800s. They're doing us no good. We call on them when we have our ritual. They come alive when we have our ritual. Let that be the only time we talk about them. During the month of February, let's have rituals. Let's have rituals one after another in different homes. And we can call on our heroes and sheroes then leave them at the altar. They will be with you then. You don't need to keep digging them up from the grave. Once you've dug them up and called them forth, they're ready to them so they can do the work and they can join arms with you and they can begin to start the planning process so we are more effective in our planning and strategizing. We've got to be strategizers during this time. Are there any strategizers in the house? And if there are, then you need to link up arms with your brothers and sisters and begin the strategy of the training and development that will go on next year during the month of February. How are we going to get over the grain house? How are we going to get Johnny into a company so he can get some experience? We'll bring them in under the auspices of an internship where they work for free the first 6 months and give it their all in all until they master that job. And then after 6 months, it will be an agreement to hire that young man or that young woman. But we can no longer let these young men and women get degrees and go home and sit at their mother's and father's house without income coming in. And then having the school loan, the FAFSA grant or the FAFSA loan due, and then there has to be a way to put it on forbearance, and then the interest keeps drawing, and you keep going further and further in debt. We must address those issues, and we must come up with ways that we can not only put it in forbearance, but we can ask for forgiveness upon taking a volunteer job. And if you have to take that volunteer job for a whole year, you would have alleviated a year's worth of your loan that's been forgiven. But at the same time, we've got to find a way to help these young people that transition out of college with these big loans and no jobs to pay them back. Now, they've told the nurses and they've told the scientists that we'll forgive up to $7,000 of your loan if you go and work in the school system as a science or a mathematician. But we also have social service that also has offered to forgive some of the loan. And we must get these young people knowledgeable about these programs. We cannot just talk about Black History Month when our children are failing in the transitional process. There must be a smooth transition from college to work. And we must intervene to create that avenue where there is an internship when the student cannot find a job. The schools need to guarantee placement upon completing these degrees. If they cannot, then we need to boycott the schools who cannot work with the students to place them in employment positions. We've got to find a way. We cannot just use this time unwisely, letting someone marvel about how our ancestors made it over the grain house and how great they were and the discoveries that they were. Who cares? We know that we can do that and beyond. It's time we stop brushing our shoulders off, and it's time we start being more effective in the boardroom so we can plan for the future and strategize for the future. This is what I feel. And this is what I'm saying. We won't give up Black History Month, nor will we boycott it, but we will take this time intelligently to use it to converse and have a platform where we can speak about the injustice of our people and how they can correct it. And what do they need to correct it with? If we find someone that participated in our Holocaust or in our Ma'afa, we must bring them to the forefront and we must challenge them about what their position is in paying our children back who are the children of slaves. We must remember that unless we use our time wisely, having this holiday for a whole month does nothing for us until we know how to strategize and use it to help us benefit, to put some ducats in our pockets. And the way we put our ducats in our pocket, we have to sit down and negotiate about stop wearing weaves. I had to do it. Stop spending $500 to $600 on hair. Stop wasting time going into these beauty salons unless we own them. Let's have a takeover spirit that we want to own them and run them. But when we take that money back, that frees up money that we can do something else, like invest with. But if a woman is afraid to take that weave off because that ain't who she is, it really ain't who she is when she put that weave on. I took it off. And you see my hair is growing back fine. It's fine. It's fine like that. Okay? And don't laugh because I'm saying something to somebody right now that's spending over $500 and $600 a month. That's investment money, child. Take that money back for them nails. Take them off and just polish them up like I polished mine up and put a little blush on your face and a lipstick. You will look so natural. I promise. And then take that money and begin to start to set aside for investment. For those of you in the music game, I want you to know that's $1 billion business. And a lot of us are not taking advantage of it. How do I know? Because once being an artist and singing, I knew that there was capability of making money for those who want to get out there on the road. I can no longer get out there on the road, but I'm going to take a back seat to other avenues in the music industry that pays for many streams of income, that will pay me for my ability to write and to produce. So don't think it's strange that these young guys are gravitating towards the labels and creating their own publishing agency. That needs to be talked about, and we need to take survey on that and get a cap on that as well. Because most of our Black people are being pushed out of the industry of music labels and publishing. And we need to find out how to stay in the game. As you've seen right there, when they displayed our Motown, and they brought Smokey up there, and then brought someone that was not, I'm not going to mention her name, someone who was not even in the part of the Motown series, trying to replicate us and duplicate us. That's what they're telling you. They're going to replicate us and duplicate us, and they're going to find their own heroes, and they're going to place them there, and they're going to give you the idea that you're still in the game when in fact they're pushing you out. Did you notice how they brought the prison cells right up front, the cage, and they put the black men in the cage to sing, and then they put all of these wardens on the outside trying to get at this young man? That is an example of what they plan to do with the black man. Put him in a cage, lock him up. He's an animal. He's a criminal. No, we're gonna monopolize on that. They got our black men in prison making and producing things for free. And that's cheap labor. That's slavery all over again. That's got to be busted up. But we have to have enough money. Because remember I told you there's 400 plus 1 on the right side and 200 plus 1 on the left side. We got to do something about that 200 plus 1 on the left side. We got to appease them. We got to come to them with our ritual to appease them so that they can give us back our society that they have wasted away in these prisons. And we know what to do about it. We know what to do about it. We know what to do about it. See, tyranny cannot run its rampant too long. See, tyranny eventually you have to bring to halt. But black men, you think it's strange that all this is happening? You need to send a prayer out to the universe, to ask the universe to relieve you, and to allow you to come home. And instantaneously, the work will begin. Black men in the prisons, if you're hearing this message by way of your prison cells, send out a special prayer that the universe, that you will support the universe if the universe supports you, and instantaneously releasing you from these jail cells and allowing these judges to free you up and take you off of death row and send you home. If you begin to minister pour libation and call on your ancestors, Eli, because they will pick you up and they will send you home. But no Mr. Enforcer has the right to create another slavery for you. No Mr. Enforcer has the right to lock you behind bars, because the same deed and measures that they met you with, they will be met with. But you must understand, you got to fall on your face and your knees, and you got to cry out to your ancestors. And don't once think that they won't hear your prayer. They're waiting for you to ask them whatever you need or whatever you want. But we cannot go on like this forever. Mr. Enforcer can't always be on top and be over things and suppressing people. We must bring Mr. Enforcer to his knees so he himself will confess that what he's done is wrong and he will repent for it. But I don't know if God is ready to forgive him yet. Because of the things that he's done to others, they must be heeded upon him as well. But we must understand that Black History Month can never be given back. We have gained something that has made us a better people. It's given us an avenue and a platform to discuss our issues. And we have issues today, and we need that platform. We need that 28 days to address ourselves. Right now, we keep dusting ourselves off, dressing up, going up on stage, and receiving the prize. Okay, now that we've gotten the prize, we know who we are. We don't need any more medals. We don't need any more prizes. We don't need any more accolades. What we do need are banks that we own. What we do need are schools that we own. See, the devil was angry at Dr. Umar Johnson for wanting to have his own. So I won't say the devil because I don't believe there's a devil. I would say Mr. Enforcer was angry about how in the world does this man think he can have his own school? So he sent people after Mr. Umar, Dr. Umar, to pull him down. Because right now we have no leader in place like a black man. Dr. Umar is something in Aurora like a leader or other, whether you know it or not. He's the only man standing up for parents in the school system. And I don't care how wrong you think he might be. It might be to your benefit to get behind him and rally his strength, because you need a great adversary. We said Jesus was the adversary, and that when Jesus was put on that cross, he bore all of our sin, and that we no longer had to go to the priest, but we could go boldly before the throne of grace, because Jesus had taken everything up on that cross with him, and all sins that could ever happen, he had already bore them. And that's what we are looking for, as a savior. Then you have to understand, when you build a savior up, you cannot strike him down. You cannot break him, and you cannot pull him to his knees like you tried to do Dr. Umar. You cannot desecrate that man if he's trying to provide a way for his children. He's only doing what a black man's supposed to do. And we need more leaders out here. And when we talk about Black History Month, I don't want to talk about any more of our dead leaders. I want to talk about existing leaders that live today. I'm one of them, and you don't even know it. And I would like my flowers now before I go to the transitional place. I think Dr. Umar would like his flowers now. Why don't you give it up and give it to him? You mothers that are supporting him, stand out on the front line. Get those children and create soldiers out of them so that they will vanguard his philosophy, because someone's coming to offend his philosophy. You better believe that. And I know this because when I had stepped up to do something for a whole nation of women who have been in discrimination for over decades, the women were standing there all supporting. But when the push comes to shove, you find yourself standing alone, trying to vindicate a whole nation of people. Sometimes it's lonely out here when you want to stand up and be a leader and to be someone that can go down in history as one of those heroes and sheroes. Well, we've got to get it together, because we are so sadly mistaken that Black History Month needs to come off the books of the record. If they hear us say that too many times, they may snatch it off the record, but they can't snatch something unless God allows it. And my prayer is that God will never allow it, because we will go to war over taking Black history back. And we might not go to war if they take back the right to vote, because I could care less. But we will go to war when it comes to taking our heritage of Black history back, because it's something we can do with that time. And you better know it. And I don't want to hear nobody on these airways talking about shutting down Black History Month and boycotting it, because it's foolishness. And that's what they want you to say. Give back over thousands of years that we have fought for to be able to tell our story. Now, we've told our stories a little bit too much now. Let's go in the boardroom and let's make history so we can create a new avenue of those rich Black people again who are in rulership. Because when we get in rulership, we're going to have to gain that filthy lucre so we can stay on top and be on top. Because Black people don't know what it is to be poor. We were rich in our caustic records. We were rich.
Not because of what we had, but because of the standing we have. We are the eldest people on this planet. Why wouldn't we be rich? And we've got to come to a conclusion that it's not our money that makes us rich. It's our experiences. It's our relationships. And it's those who we rub shoulders with. Not the white rich man over here, but the man that's rich in his spirit, that stands for something. The woman that has integrity. The woman that stands for justice for all. We have to know this. Black History Month has a meaning for us. And it will never go down in history that we even uttered about giving it back, because it's something that we didn't get for ourselves. We got the Black History Month for ourselves. Carter G. Woodson fought for that month. He fought for that at the sweat of his brows. You need to learn your history, because, see, some of us don't even know our history because we have been split up in so many areas of mulatto. Yes, but if you have 1/3 black blood in you, you're black. I don't care how much Caucasian blood you said you had in you, they are leaving you for black. You cannot enter into their world. So we've got to get this thing together. Now that we have the attention of all of those people out there that realized that Black history was on the market to be boycotted, now that we've gotten the attention of those out there who realize we've got to take a different stand about Black history now. Don't let them bombard us with all of these bulletin boards, with all of these insignificant heroes and sheroes. Yes, they had their place, but it's time to take them down. It's time to bring up some of those who are fighting under this dispensation and that are fighting for a cause now. We want to learn about the new history makers and the ones who are about to make history. And we want to know about who those are that are willing to work and walk with us, not in no march, but walk with us to the boardroom, because that's as far as we're going to walk, from the office to the boardroom, and make reservations and put together a strategy of how we're going to better ourselves financially. That's the only thing to enforcer understand is, can you become financially inclined? Yes, we can. We can do more than that. We are the billionaires, and we can do more than what you can expect of us financially. And we can run the doggone thing, yes, with perseverance and steadfast. Because, see, some of us let money go to our head. We are not looking to be influenced by money, because money will not be the driving force. And we have to know that, because a lot of money got a lot of our people in trouble and killed. So it's not the bottom line to get money and get rich fast. Slow and steady, says the turtle. Because as we become financially able, we only take what we need and we use that to prevail, not to just boast about. So we're not going to boast anymore about Black History Month, but we're going to talk about those people that are significant, that can do something for us now in this lifetime. So I want you to know that. So we're not giving up Black History Month, and we're not boycotting it. I don't care how many black faces you see, ignore them, because they're trying to get you off your square so you can strike them and they can take you to jail on that. Let it ride. Let this one ride. I don't care how many black faces you see. Let it ride. That ain't you, and you know it ain't you. All you have to do is stand up and show them the real history of your people and how we were steadfast and we got over the grain house and we managed and we ran towns and cities. We got to talk about what we did to make up these towns and establish these communities. That's what we got to talk about. Forget these individuals. We're talking about communal lifestyle. And it's very vital that you should understand this. And I'm just bringing you a little known history fact, that we were great people and that we built towns and communities, and we were able to stand up and create our gardens and our water system and our whole community. So we know what it is to have. And we also are going to portray that. Thank you so very much for writing this one out on me on Black History Month. And if you question whether or not you should boycott Black History, don't think about it twice. We can't give it up. We fought too hard to get it. Thank you so much. Now have a great evening. Odabo.